Welcome to the Speaking Podcast. You can find all our episodes on speakingpodcast.com. We're also on BitChute and YouTube as Speaking Podcast. I also have the Awakening Podcast, the Meditation Podcast, the Learn Polish Podcast, and the Crypto Podcast, and all can be found on roycall.com. Today, my guest from India but living in Abu Dhabi. Please welcome Pradas Ramdas. Did I say it right?
That you did. You did. Wonderful. And thank you for having me in the show, Roy. It's absolute pleasure. So I will introduce myself.
Yes, you might let the
My
listeners
name
know who you are.
Wonderful. I'm an Indian. My name is Pradas Ramdas. I come from the southernmost tip of India, a small state called Kerala. It is also known as the Goat's own country, but I think the pursuit never ends for a better way of living. So I took my bags and became an expatriate in 2004, and that journey still continues. I have landed in Abu Dhabi like 12 years ago. This is my 12th year, and I'm loving every moment of it. And I get to talk to people and mingle with so many cultural backgrounds just because I'm in UAE. Otherwise, which was not possible from where I come. It was majorly natives. So it's all fun-filled journey. And last 3 years has been a disaster for me as well, personally. Uh, the pandemic took its toll like anybody else had to lose. So we all lost someone we knew. We all lost someone we cared. All of this have that happened with us as well. But I think with God's grace, me and you are talking. Let's be thankful for that. And then what I do is I'm a seasoned marketing professional. Um, as a profession, if you ask me what are your core strengths, marketing is one. I manage high net worth projects for the company that I work for. Account management is a dedicated skill that I have, and I'm also well versed in international business. I have over a period of time helped build high performing teams, majorly focused on the marketing and sales, and have also helped very many customers, both individuals and enterprises, to have a better clarity on topics I was called in to address. Uh, so yeah, that's about me.
Very good. And like, I know we're going to delve into the different things on the speaking, but I always like to know the journey. So when you were a young boy in India, was it something, speaking in front of people was something that came easy to you, or what was your journey?
No, it was never easy. So I come from a city called Kochi, and I was blessed in having one of the finest educations at what was available then, and it is still one of the top-notch schools called Rajagiri. So I was very privileged and blessed to be a student of that prestigious institution. We had a lot of venues to do the speaking, but my interest was in music, and I used to talk to my guitar better. So I would say, well, I was one of the very shy, introvert kind of person during school and college days who really had some big problems picking up microphone on the stage. It was just with the microphone. I was okay with the guitar. I was okay with the band. I was okay with everything else but the microphone. If you leave me alone, I become pale, white, and dry. Uh, I want to speak, words won't come out. So this was uh, very common with me, and all of this happened despite of all the hours of practice that you get to do in front of a full size mirror, and you are motivating yourself looking at the mirror that this is my audience, I am going to do this, I am going to tell them about this and all. But the moment you walk into the stage, I ended up losing it all. And perhaps I have purposefully avoided, times when I was asked to speak. So it was very difficult. Either I needed a companion or it had to be my guitar. It was never me and my microphone alone. So that was the kind of childhood we you had. And also keep in mind, Indians basically have very few requirements to speak in English, right? Because you're talking about a country that has 29 official languages, 2,000 dialects, and it's spread across. So each state is like a country by itself, and within the state you have different dialects of the same language. So I fail to understand if I go to another part of my own state, how people are communicating. It is the same language, it is just the dialect that has changed. So uh, we never had to per se go on the stage, do a speech, or anything that was like a mandate. But all of that changes, right? It is just a school. After the school, after the college, the story is entirely different. So fast forwarding a few years post college, rather, I should say, uh, I started getting the feel of how effective communication can make or, in fact, break a person. You see, it you can be the best of what you do, um, but if you are not able to efficiently communicate the joy or the pride you get in what you love to do to the person on the other side, you are probably not going to be acknowledged or recognized in your field. So when you take up a job, it isn't everybody's. You're in your early 20s, you're very ambitious, you want to have a fast growth, and settle in the highest floor at the cornermost table with a view. This is what we all aim for, and that is the only seat that is visible. So you are literally like struggling, to get there. Let's take an elevator if possible. That is the kind of mindset from day one for a new corporate employee, but that does not come without a price. You can do the best of the things that the company has never seen, but I understood it. I was able to communicate. I did not have problems with English. I did not have problems with my native language either. The problem was I was going stage fright. Now I had to deal with it. There was no shortcut to not being afraid on a stage because it was you. Nobody else was
It's
carrying.
strange because, like you mentioned about that, you didn't have the fear when you were playing the guitar. I was this. I mean, I was very late to the game, getting comfortable on stage. But I remember doing martial arts, kung fu, from when I was 16, and like
Mhm.
I used to be teaching the class as well at times. We were on television. I was on stage in front of a hall full of people, screaming,
Wow.
shouting. That didn't fear me yet.
Yeah.
So it's like the psychology. It's like it's strange that you can stand in front of a person. You can play the guitar. I can do my martial arts, and yet when we change and do something else, our knees
Absolutely.
go. Yeah.
Absolutely. And all that courage just vanishes like this. The moment you're given a podium and a microphone, you're dead. At least that was the case for me, and it was very disappointing. During the school days or perhaps the college days, I did not realize how significant of an impact it will have on my career if I had to progress, because my job involved a lot of convincing. And to convince, you always needed a microphone and you had to take the stage. So if you were to talk about a pitch, if you were to talk about a certain topic, um, I have dealt audience size from 5 people to hundreds of them in a single room, and it was very difficult because your needs start to lose ground. And I have always felt, and sometimes I still do, but I think I have mastered the act of faking it, till I make it, because sometimes you cannot uh, show your vulnerability, right? So I it took me a while to get to a place where I am very comfortable talking in a public venue or in front of a group of people. That it took me significant sometimes. I think my first presentation happened when I was 23. It was just supposed to be, so this was for a lot of managers, and they were looking at me, uh, try to find out how and what kind of mistakes are they making, as a entry level uh, person, so that they wanted to give me the military so that I go armored to the client. So I still remember that day. Uh, the presentation started. I welcomed everyone to the room, and somehow Microsoft decided that the next slide would not come. I was fine till then. When the arrow keys ceased working, Roy, I swear I'm telling you, it blew the wind out of me. I started sweating, I went pale, and then one of those managers realized it is a disaster. He was kind enough to tell me, take a deep breath, you know, get your composure, start again. We are here to talk. We are here to listen. You talk. We don't want to talk. So take your time and come back. Somehow I fixed it. You remember those days, right? When we used to connect the VGA cable and it was loosely connected. That was the issue. And it caused some kind of technological error at that point. It had to happen then. But then I think that was the first instance where I felt, okay, I have to have control over what I do, because otherwise this was going to be a disaster. Uh, I was never going to get in front of a client. I was never going to talk to people in a public venue. So it was very difficult. Um, so one of those finite things that I figured out down the road is people mistake communication and public speaking as an act of imposing themselves. You see, uh, of course, in a good way. You know, uh, but the only way you can achieve this goal is if you're an authoritarian or a dictator. So, which unfortunately, if you are either one of them, this is not the right era to be alive. So that is something that I learned in my early days, because the point is not to be assertive in making a point. The reason why you're talking is to pass your message. You
And it was
see,
actually good that that happened at an early stage, because I remember
of,
one
of
time
course.
I had like the overhead projector, and it was a Toastmaster speech, but there was nobody else there, so I knew I had to do this speech, and there was, I don't know, 20 or 30 people. Didn't work. Then we had another overhead projector, and that didn't work. But I still proceeded. I used, actually in the end, I used an iPad just for the graphics. But
True.
like from that, you learn that don't trust technology.
Absolutely, absolutely. I still don't. So even today when I go, I have a notepad or a whiteboard somewhere accessible where I can tell my story. Because every presentation that you do, every speech that you are giving, every kind of motivation that you give to your team, all of this has a story element. Because I think I would want to discuss with you what I do. I have not attended Toastmasters. I have not gone for a professional course either. But these are all that I learned. So I was on a guest on Heidi's podcast, which was uh, I still remember the name. She had a very apt name. When life throws lemons on you, you make lemonade out of them. So I was speaking to her on that, and the same situation came in. Uh, one of those, uh, few of those things, what you master over a period of time is because it's pure trial and error, right? You can be best at some things, and then you may have to continue your journey of learning as you move forward. So I have been a professional for around 23 years now. uh, Dealing with people management has been the forte that I have been focused. So every other person that I meet is a uh, different one. So the way I speak to you will not work with the next person, right?
And I think
So
people forget that. They forget you're dealing with personalities and everybody is a different
absolutely,
way. And it's
absolutely,
to be able to adjust to that.
absolutely, absolutely. It was very difficult to start because you were by hearting a script. I did this initially. If I had to sell something, I knew everything about the product. Like I could talk the catalog, you know. But then that was not appealing. People never understood. And then I started reading about the psychology of selling. That was when I realized that you have to literally map a pain area that perhaps a customer has or will have to a use case that your product can do or help them resolve. You see, uh, so that's how I started the whole exercise of doing presentations. I still do customer presentations. The only few things, if an account manager or somebody is asking for my support to get a presentation delivered, only a few things that I ask is who is the customer, why exactly do they want to meet us, or why did you set this meeting, what is the purpose of this meeting. So few things, you go to their website, you understand their mission and vision, or perhaps it is just introducing your company to them. It could be anything, but in the end you need to have some intelligence upfront before you start speaking to people, because you cannot be at a no man's land on your own, because that's where I had uh, the stage fright come in, because the stage, the podium, and the microphone was a no man's land for me, and I was left alone. I could just not speak. It is not that I did not know what to speak. It is not that I did not try. It was just a very difficult position to be in. So I had to face it. There is no other way to eliminate the fear. The best way to eliminate the fear is face it one time. You may get burnt. I'm not telling it is easy. You may get burnt, but you become stronger if it did not kill you, right?
No,
This is what is going to happen. So, uh, there is something that you trust yourself with. Yes, you can do it. Or perhaps this is not the right way. You could have done it this way. So that's a lessons learned.
yeah.
And then you improvise over a period of time in your talks, in your dealings with people, and so forth. So over the period of years till we met, I never thought I would have to give this as a do this as a session with a person as capable as you. So I had to write down, what do I do when I have to present or I have to speak. So I basically, for me, it has been basically a 5 axis approach that has helped. It has worked for me. And I think this is what I will share with you and your audience today, who are a better judge of what I'm going to say. These are pretty basics. but these are going to be your fundamental, foundation stones or the key pillars
I
that
always
you would
find
want.
it's the basics are what actually works. And sometimes people
Absolutely.
try to, advance and try all these bells and whistles. And
Absolutely.
it's the same with the martial arts. You
Right.
practice the punch and the kick, and people say, why, you've done it 10,000 times? Because you do it right.
Right. So it has been, I was going through my notes several times. So I have this habit of uh, writing some keywords in pages when I face one of my terrifying moments. So this is a reminder. This happened to me, and this is how my brain is wired. In fact, everybody's brain is wired to recall a instance of fear, and then it also reminds you how did you overcome it, and that is what translates into your self confidence, right? I have done this before, and I can do it again. So this is your bridge. So while writing down, one of those primary things I still do is I'm talking of a scenario where I have entirely a set of, these are not my colleagues, these are not my friends. So if I, are you able to listen?
It paused there for a few seconds. Yeah.
Okay, but it's working. Yeah.
It's working again. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the way that I listed down these points for the ease of this discussion is, I am perhaps called into a place where I have nobody known in the audience. Uh, I am on my own. It is the same old stage that I was afraid of. It is the same shrewd microphone who has been, uh, you know, uh, who has never showed a little bit drop of mercy on me. And it is the same stupid podium that is waiting for me. So this was a scenario because I thought, since this is a speaking podcast, I thought my experiences of day one is something that I would like to create to understand even for myself how far have I come. You see, so basically, like I said, it is a five axis approach that I do. First thing that I do is I get myself out of any thought burdens that I carry from the day. Right before the moment, right when you have to walk into a room or a hall to address a group of audience, I try to arrive as much early as possible, and then I just sit with myself. I would like to isolate myself. I would like to get rid of all the good or bad thoughts that I have. I don't talk at all. My phone goes silent. uh, I'm totally unplugged. I just sit down. I just perhaps count backwards, 100 to 1. By the time I am somewhere around 50, my mind is calm. And when the mind is calm, it not only brings down any nerves you may have, but also helps in structuring yourself. Because I have always noticed my mind is my biggest enemy as well. Because your mind is going to hint things that are both relevant and irrelevant. And that cannot happen when you are actually doing a speaking, because you will in no time take a deviation from the topic you're speaking. And the sad part, we won't realize. And the unfortunate part, audience get it because they are on the listening side. You see, so for a for a public speaker, I think at least for me, this has helped. I take at least 10-15 minutes before before that moment uh, to just sit and calm down, because I may have been driving to the venue. I may have had a very bad traffic. I would have been worried if I could reach there on time. Should I ask for an extension? All of these things, I'm carrying it with me in a backpack,
And
which we
if
call
you
the.
go into the room where you want your 15 minutes or whatever, and there's somebody in there that's trying disturbing you or is trying to get your attention, do you tell them that you want to be?
No, no, that's I'm perfectly fine being in a crowd even. It is just that I don't want to interact.
Yeah.
You see, it was difficult for me, like you asked. It was very difficult for me to calm my mind when others were speaking. Somebody was, talking on phone. I used to get very distracted. But today, I can just sit in a crowded place and be uh, unplugged. I'm totally fine with it. I think I trained it that way because a isolated room or a place has become a luxury nowadays. So it is not very often that you get that peaceful, calm atmosphere in any of our cities, for that matter of fact. So it was very difficult in the beginning. And trust me, Andrew Carnegie, the biggest industrialist US has seen, he did not tell the senators as a joke. You can achieve anything if you have focus for 5 minutes. This is what he said. If you really try, 5 minutes is a luxury. I tell you, 1 minute without getting disturbed, if you are able to focus on one single thing, you are a champion already, because you have control over your mind. When you So mind is a very good servant, but a very bad master. It can be a very dangerous master as well, because it never stops whispering. It keeps on talking to you, and you are listening to it, and then you get very bothered. So, first thing, for a person like me, if one of your listeners or one of your audience is like me, first thing I would suggest you do is to find a way to calm your mind. For me, what works is sitting alone, having no interactions at all. I just don't want my phone to ring. I just don't want my to be bothered with my WhatsApp messages. I don't want to read. I don't want to drive. I don't want music. Nothing. I just want to sit alone, look at the ground, or probably look at the sky, and just spend 15 minutes for myself. By the 10th, 12th minute, my mind is absolutely calm. When I say mind is calm, I also have a way to understand it is calm. It is at that point that I am thinking about nothing. Nothing else matters. The traffic did not matter. My car not starting did not matter. Me getting off 5 minutes late did not matter. I am here now. At this moment, none of that matters, because I also have learned people worry. You see, worry is a conversation that you are having with yourself on things that you cannot change. You can do nothing about what happened. So if you are continuing to worry, what you're doing is every present moment is being drawn into the past without you knowing. So the moment I go calm, I know I'm not thinking about anything. I'm just focused. I'm good to meet with the people. So that is the first thing I do. I get rid of all my thought burdens right before I start doing a presentation uh, or a public speech. Yeah.
And I think because it's something that I'm conscious of is like say in school when if you're bored or whatever, you start daydreaming, you go into your own little place, which is a kind of form of meditation, I believe. And now, because of the distraction with the phone, I mean, I'm not ruled by my phone, but I see a lot of people are. I don't think they get to that calmness that you're talking about because they're looking for constantly something to do. They can't be kind of present in themselves and just, like, I mean, I can do that. I can
Hi,
go out to
Rod.
the garden, look at the
Are you
sky.
there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, yeah. Your picture's frozen. I can hear you.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
you're back here.
lost you in a, yeah.
Okay, so like it was kind of like that a lot of the time now because of the phones, people aren't actually practicing mindfulness because they're constantly looking for, did I get a like? Did I get this? They're not relaxing.
So there was a recent movie that I saw in my regional language. So the son was opening the refrigerator, and the mother was asking him, "Hey, you just opened that refrigerator 2 minutes back. What do you want? What are you opening that refrigerator for?" And the son was telling, Ma, there are two things in this world we will still keep on opening and checking, even when we know that there is nothing. One is a refrigerator and another is a phone. You still expect something to happen, and it has become so common for us that the phones, the laptops, the devices all have become an extension of us. You know, we don't feel like we are getting distracted. Like you rightly said, the mindfulness does not exist, not even in the dinner table when family dinner is happening. We don't we don't I have two kids who are 8 years old. They don't have a mobile. I make it a point when I am with them, I try to keep it away, but it is not always possible because so much of your life is in this 12-inch screens. You see, when pandemic happened, all your social interactions was on this 12-inch screens. There was no other way. You were sitting at home. The best you could see was a view through your window. Nobody could hear you even. So it was very difficult. Um, so I think practicing mindfulness and also understanding what is a calm mind is very, very important uh, during the days that we are living, because it does not exist today. I don't think my father or my grandfather practiced it because they always had this. You see, they were not bothered by 10 different things after their work. They had friends. They literally used to go and meet friends and greet them. The best luxury you could have asked for is a landline, a land phone, right? All the wires, you call someone, speak with them, and keep if they were very far. Before that, they used to write. They had such beautiful handwritings. And look at the wisdom, because it is scientifically proven. People who write, people who speak, people who interact are more intelligent than today's people.
Yeah, and like I'd be telling people the kind of nerve endings when you're right. I mean, I use a notepad the whole time compared to the typewriter because, like, the thought process of when you're writing it, it's going to the brain and it's triggering a lot of things. Whereas when you're
Absolutely.
typing, it's and like my grandmother, she passed about 5 years ago. But the one things that I've kept is the letter she wrote me, and I used to write back for her. I treasure it because
Yeah,
I get thousands of emails. It's nothing. You get one letter, no, and it's like, ooh, it means so much.
exactly. Exactly. So that is one of the things. um, I would say it was one of the difficult things to practice rather. I was, how to keep your nerves calm, how to have a calm mind before, because if you don't have a calm mind, you are not open to questions. That's what happens. And it's a disaster if it's a sales presentation, because you don't like people asking you a question. You see that as a challenge, that somebody is challenging your authority of knowledge in the specific topic that you're speaking, and then it goes south. So that does not help. So it took me a while, but I'm still continuing to practice, because it's not the same people that we get to meet. Like I said, people are different. They have various thresholds of patience. So some are more patient, some are very short tempered, some smile, but they are thinking something else. So you got to deal with a bunch of people. Not that you are any different from them. The only thing is the spotlight is on you. You are expected to do the talking, and they are just listening. So having a calm mind is very important. So whatever you do, try to have it in the before the engagement itself. The second skill I have understood is, what you see may not be right. So you need to learn to read the room very, very well. By learning the room, I mean, it is very easy to be said than done. Learning the room is actually a art, because you have 10 different people. You need to have a feeling of what these people are as a person, right? uh, so uh, you can only do this effectively if you are calm enough. If you are not calm, you can't read any other person, because remember the story of worry that I said. You are still worried, so you don't have time to look at a person uh, who is on the other side of the table, or who is in the audience. So as a speaker or a presenter, you may be known, at least they are expecting you. But keep in mind, you are in an unknown territory as a speaker, because you don't know anybody there. Audience are strangers, unless they are your friends, family, and all those things. But usually that's not the case. It is always a new venue. It is always a new topic that you're trying to speak and connect with. So the rapport, if you need to build rapport with your audience, one of those things that you need to do prior to the engagement is to read the room very, very well. Over the days, what you will occur is, the time you need to read uh, will shrink, because you have a wonderful uh, machine called brain. So the adaptive learning is happening here, right? But you are able to read the body, from the body language of a person, that what is going to work in your speech with them. And that is very, very important, because unless you do that, you are not able to deliver your message correct to the audience. So if you are actually addressing a set of formal people, right? Let's say the C-level guys. What happens is, you cannot have a semi-formal approach to the speech or a presentation. They are focused on the point, and they expect you to deliver the points crisp and clear. They mean business. So if you fail to recognize that the other person is running short of time, and you're actually giving the talk in a way that has a lot of bells and whistles, it may not fly very well with them, and they may not appreciate it either. It has happened with me several times. Uh, People have told me, uh, come to the point in my early days. So you you need to really take time to read the room to
What I
understand.
what what I what I've noticed is there was times where I was doing a speech and I could see that the people weren't getting what I was saying. And when you're calm and everything, you can just make a point and change. But there's sometimes speakers, they're not even paying attention to what's going on, and they can't even
Absolutely.
adjust. So
Absolutely.
once you see something, because you can see like a bit of confusion, and just saying one sentence extra can change things, and you have them back again. But if you're not with them, you've lost them.
Absolutely. So the maximum a person can focus on a single thing, the continuous focus, right? Or attention, like we call it, that's hardly 30 seconds. After 30 seconds, you have lost me, Roy, right? So you need to have your tools and methods to bring that attention back. I personally call it a soft pinch, where you use your interactive tools to address the audience directly. I will come to that down the road. But I think I understand and I feel you very much when you say that. So observing is a very important skill. By seeing who is sitting where, who is sitting with uh, who is smiling, who is in a serious discussion, etc. You have the definite advantage to deliver your message the right or close to right, as much right you can be to the audience, because there is no other way to do that. The purpose of you doing this mimic is to pass a message to somebody who is a stranger. So if you are not able to read that person, you probably are not going to pass that message right, and it is not going to bring any value, right? So if you have a large audience, I can surely say we will not have enough time to understand each and every one of them. But even if you are like 60-70% close, you have delivered uh, the message across your audience in an understandable way that they can relate to. So there are different types of venue you get invited to for a presentation or speaking, right? This one step is only the most common and important for every single one of them. Even if you are doing a lecture, you are doing a speech, you are doing a presentation, you are doing an interactive Q&A, for everything, this one single point, reading the room, is a very vital skill. So that is the second point I want to really leave your viewers with. Um, the third point is it is very obvious. You need to know your message very well. You should always have a deep grasp on the topics you are leading as a presenter or a speaker. So let's say Tom is invited to give his perceptive uh, speech about climate change. So first thing Tom will do is find out what is climate change. He may not be the climate expert, but he's asked in class to do a 10 minutes uh, assignment, perhaps. I'm talking about Tom, who is 13 years old, 14 years old. So what he will do is he will ask his parents or his teacher what is climate change. If he's in a place where he has digital literacy, first thing he is going to do is Google climate, literature, right? He, if he is smart, he's going to take one extra step to understand what are those trending topics in the last 1 week about climate change. You know, so these are your building blocks for your speech. You need to be very, very thorough with this. Why? Because you cannot assume your audience to be dumb. There are knowledgeable people there. The moment you make a mistake, somebody is going to leave the room or they are going to question it, because this is very certain for them, because they know it, they have read it, they are seeing it. So you should have a very good understanding on the topic without saying. So the way I do it, uh, if this adds any value, uh, I'm sure your audience are already doing this in different forms and shapes. It is just my way of doing this. Uh, you do your research first. Even if it is a topic that you are a master of, you still need to do research, because you would not know otherwise what has happened on this certain thing in the last 1 month or 1 year, perhaps, based on the relevancy of that frequency. So you do the research, you summarize it very sharply. I'm talking about a 1 or 2 pager, right? This is your first draft. And what you do is you can elaborate it or downsize it afterwards. But the initial draft, you can put everything there. This is your 1 2 pager. So there may be certain points that you want to elaborate. There may be some points that you don't want to speak about, which may be offensive for some people, or it may be offensive in a situation that you are in, uh, which may not be welcome. So you trim it down. Another thing I always use is, from these stories that you actually get to, uh, while doing your research, all those bulleted points will have an incident associated with it. So if you are able to expand your talking points with incidents or perhaps references, something that the audience can relate to, you can be 100% sure that this certain thing is going to remain beyond the uh, speech period, right? Even if the person leaves, that message is going to be engraved within them. Uh, Another thing, if you can use your multimedia elements, you can use props, all those things. What you do is you use less words because you are talking, and then have your presentation loaded with pictures, not like a clutter, but what is relevant, you show one single picture that will tell the story. You are elaborating it anyway, but that picture is going directly here. So a picture is more powerful than 1,000 words. So you don't have to tell all those 1,000 words. You can just have that single picture tell it for you, and it will remain within the audience. But then not every time you will have that luxury either.
There is sometimes, like, you have some audience members, they're looking for attention themselves and they're trying to catch you out. If they ask a question that you genuinely don't know, what you recommend people do?
So what I do is, while I prepare the script, one of those things that I make it a point is to leave out tiny bit of details within my explanation. So if there is really somebody who is knowledgeable in the crowd, They are going to catch it and ask, "Oh, Pradas, while you have said this, did you forget this?" Right? I know this is coming. It is like magician performing on the stage, right? Uh, you have to be prepared. When you say you are prepared with your topic, leave the obvious for the audience to ask. That is how you can build that rapport. So when you have a loophole, you should always understand. I'm just telling a rough number. Of the 100, there are going to be 15 to 20 people who are there just to find out or prove that I am better than you. This is very obvious. 15 to 20% of people are going to be like this. So when they are like this, rather than getting into a conflict or a argument, the best thing to do is always leave the obvious to the audience. So either they understand it or they ask about it, right? So you have answers for it. That's one method I have found helpful for me. Uh, to answer your question. But to going back, if you are in a platform where it is just a podium and the scary mic that you don't have any projectors or anything, you are addressing a crowd. What you do is explain the picture. There is no other way to do it. You don't even have a whiteboard. You can tell this land. I'm just giving a vague example. It may not even make sense. This land once had the most beautiful mountains and the valleys the world has ever seen. And then you talk about what you wanted to tell based on the circumstance. So the moment people are going to hear this, they're going to imagine that in their brain. It is as powerful as showing them a picture. Now, how many words do you use to describe that? Is your uh, mastery over the language. So, language is not the barrier. If I may emphasize on it, English becomes the general top, conversational language that goes anywhere. But if you are doing a regional thing, it is much more easy for you to beautifully describe a picture, and that picture is going to remain within the audience because you are actually relating to something that they wanted to see or they have believed that existed, and they are able to correlate your message against that picture. You see, so it is very easy to do those stunts, but not in the early days. In the early days, you get carried away with the picture. So that needs to be really planned. So that's point number 3 from me, knowing your message. Because I, apart from the first few years of my early career, I don't think I have gone to a customer or talked with a team or a group of people to deliver a topic. I have never done that. If it is not a message, you are not winning it. So whatever you want to talk about, it could be geopolitics, it could be disasters that have happened in the past, UFOs, talk about Andromeda coming and hitting Milky Way and then becoming Milkomeda. Whatever you want to talk about in this world, always know that you are delivering a message. How well you deliver defines the outcome of that message. So the whole purpose of a speaker is to deliver it very, very well so that the message is understood across different kind of people, right? It's like the five fingers. None of them are same, but they are still called fingers, right? Each person is different. So you need to understand, uh, you need to establish a common ground where all of these people are able to understand what you're trying to say. Then that message becomes very powerful. That is the only point when everybody is going to appreciate what you're saying, because people clap, right? People applaud. Why do they applaud? It is not because you are doing that presentation. You did it exceptionally well to a level where they could understand it. You were able to match that frequency. That is exactly why they appreciate it. They are not appreciating the topic you have chosen. They are not appreciating how well you are dressed and why they are there. They are appreciating the fact that a person who did not know me was able to establish a frequency through which he could transfer something to me very easily in a level that I could understand. That is why people appreciate it. And that's a very, very important skill. This could come handy when you are interacting with your teachers, if you are a school student. This comes very handy when you are interacting with your managers, if you are an employee. This comes very, very handy if you're interacting with your customers, if you are a business owner, right? So every walks of life, and we do this even in our daily life. How are you going to make a 8-year-old? For me, it is thankfully they're twins. So I have two 8-year-old kids. How are you going to help them understand what you want to say? Today I'm 43. So the moment I am able to explain it in a way that they are able to understand, they're going to be happy about it. They understand it, they keep it forever. So that is the practice. So it is uh, public speaking. You are transferring this across a wide area of audience. So keep in mind, today technology has grown so far that it is just me and Roy talking. But it could be thousands of other people whom we have not even seen or met or we know personally listening to this podcast. So I believe the way you transfer your message is what is important. And what I am explaining is how have I, how am I doing it, as a person. So that was the third point, knowing your message in and out. You will not believe, but the next point is very, very relevant. It is your voice. The voice, the tone, right? It defines how much you will succeed. If you are going to uh, talk a message, it will not work. So use a tone that matches the subject. So if it is a dark subject, you have a more husky voice. I'm not asking you to mimic anything, but the lower tones of your voice, that's what the dark themes or subjects will take. So let's say you're talking about cosmos is something that we don't know anything about. We are looking at Elon Musk. Hopefully he will build a rocket that will take all of us to Mars, and by the time we reach there, we may not be good for nothing. So that is the best we have known about cosmos. I mean, we can hope James Webb Telescope is going to bring us a lot of discoveries and save us from deteriorating this planet. But it's still a dark topic.
Mm.
So if I take a printout and start reading about cosmos, you're getting bored in less than 30 seconds. I have lost you already. You're just listening to something that you don't want to. You don't have appetite for it anymore. I may be talking the most important fact about cosmos, right? Does not matter. It will not work. So I have to deliver it in the right tone. Remember, it is not about how much you talk, but it is always about how much your audience can grab from what you're saying that matters. So, my advice, if I may, is tune it and time it well. It's okay. You can pause if you have to. Talk in very short sentences so that people are able to focus, right? Uh, Short sentences are no more than 5 words or 6 words. If it is a longer sentence, slow it down so people have time to listen, process, then take again, right? So time it very well. Uh,
Same with the pauses as well. Some people are kind of uncomfortable having a pause, and there's times you need to have the pause so the audience goes into their own thought process to kind of understand what you've just said and then or visualize what you've just said. And some people think they have to talk. There's times you just keep quiet and let them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, one of those things that I have seen some of the successful speakers in this region do, I have met a few. What they do is they carry a bottle of water into the stage. So, I have met with a stand up comedian, I have met with a, international business speaker. They all carry a bottle of water with them. It is not because they are thirsty. There is no reason for them to be thirsty at stage. Trust me, Roy, I never felt thirsty, the feeling of thirst or hunger uh, while I'm at stage. It scares the shit out of me, excuse my French, if you will. It really. So I literally had, so with this stand-up comedian, he's very good guy as a person. So when I met him backstage, I asked him, "Hey, you carried this bottle of water. What is the story behind it? Why don't you have a glass of water before the show?" So he said, "It is. I use this as a prop, and the reason why I use it as a prop is to pause. So I'm not giving the feeling of to people that I have lost my continuity. I may be during this time when I'm drinking water, I'm doing two things. I'm helping the audience process what I already said. At the same time, I'm trying to improvise something that is coming up next. So it is a two-way road. So that is where the props are going to help. And I found it very amazing. What a way to deliver a message without, showing your vulnerability. If I was to pause and tell, uh, Roy, let me think what I have to tell you next, that would be so awkward. But while you're speaking, I can have a sip of my coffee and think and then improvise, right? So the flow is there. People are not getting disconnected. And it was very, very amazing. The the kind of improvisations that people do to the traditional public speaking that we are all used to is amazing, just amazing. So one thing I have to warn is, um, never ever go from low to loud if the topic does not call for it. Let's say you're reading out a passage and there is a suspense. That's fine. You can have your modulation or vibrato or whatever you want to do. That's fine. But if it is a straightforward thing, you have started with a husky voice or a low tone, try to maintain it throughout the topic, because your ears get used to it. It is as good as music. You don't need to sing to the audience. Just talking to them by pausing, by conveying your message in short sentences, or if it is a long one, taking multiple pauses. This is going to help. You know, this is one way of doing it. So voice modulation is also very, very important, uh, because the higher your voice, the perception that the listener gets is you are becoming assertive. So when you are assertive, you need to be very, very certain of what you are telling, because otherwise this is the first backfiring that will happen. So you need to practice this in the initial days. Uh, Over the period, let's say 10, 12 years down the road, when you are wonderful, you just get the knack of it. You know, it is just like a routine. Uh, in less than 2.5 hours, 3 hours, you are done with the scripting to the first rehearsal, if it is a very serious thing. But for presentations and all those things, I don't think people do, because it is the repetitive topics that you present. So that is one important thing I wanted to remind. Mind your voice tones. The shades of the message has to reflect on your tone. That helps you cross that bridge between that is in the on the table. It helps you take it helps you rather reach the other side very easily. Keep in mind, uh, it is very important to acknowledge the audience in between your talks. So for example, I make statements like, are you all with me? Hey, please feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions. So what am I doing there? When I use such phrases, I remember we talked about this earlier. uh, I'm giving a soft pinch, and I use it when I see people are distracted or they have lost the interest. You see, so what I'm actually doing is I'm throwing the spotlight on them. When the spotlight is on you, you are in a state of alertness, and alertness brings interaction. Sometimes, most of the times, it is focus, unless it is a directly directed question to a certain individual. But most of the times, this is a very good way to catch the audience and bring them back to the topic of discussion. So uh, I have also been very blessed to see some of the most interactive uh, speakers who use audience as their props. you know what they do is they explain a topic and then they understand it is boring, so they make two groups of the audience. So these are, you know the team building speakers who do this. So they give you the example of an exercise and they ask you to segregate among two groups, and then they literally make you do that example. So at that point it is going to be real fun. So that's another way of doing it. It does not work in all, all circumstances that we are put in, but uh, it mostly works everywhere that that situation calls for. So uh, that is very important. And also keep in mind, never try this if you have not read your room well. This will single-handedly become the recipe of disaster otherwise. So you need to read the room very well before you start, using all these bells and whistles. uh, so that's the fourth point, the voice itself. My last one would be, uh, talk less, listen more. If you're having said all this, it is important to note that if the session can be interactive at all, while doing a session, if it can be interactive at all and you have read the room well, you have a consensus with the audience indirectly, you need to master the art of talking less and listening more from the audience, and then perhaps answer or acknowledge if needed. Because here is why it is important. Uh, Messages very well remain when discussed and not told. Remember, we are not able to recall what we were taught in school. I did not have an interactive class at that point. It was a teacher standing and talking. I was told this is how it is. I was never able to figure it out then. At least now I am least worried because it does not matter either. You see? So this not only makes it interesting because now it is not a one-man show, it is a group activity that is happening, right? Discussions are very powerful, and all parties are engaged in it. So that gives you a kind of very good feeling for all the stakeholders involved. So the good side of it is you may still take away some of your some contacts that will outlive the events that you are in, because people appreciate honesty, you see. So when you are able to listen to them and when you are able to talk to them on that front, it is very easy for them to communicate with you. And that is one of the biggest challenges in today's world. Communication itself is the single biggest challenge the world is currently going through. Take any worldly problems that you have, go back to the roots. It is always about communication. So make it a practice to listen more. If the style of presentation or speech or session present permits it, there is no better way to get successful with this. uh, if you have discussions permitted, then I think probably you can throw a Q&A session, right? uh, Probably you can do some games wherein the speaker is asking questions about the topic to the audience, and whoever answers gets whatever he has carried. So it's an engagement. It is more of a, you know, kind of gelling up that you are doing with people, so that they remember you, they remember what you told, your message is very clear, and they carry it all the way outside the hall, and they take further actions on it. Most of them do. It's very serious. Never minuscule yourself as a just a speaker. No, you are a very powerful person when you are in the stage, you are delivering a message. And that message, if followed up, becomes a very powerful statement. So it is how important communication is. It is how important how we deliver that piece of message. So these are my 5 points. I know in the interactions I have taken a bit extra time, but oh, before I forget, when you close out, please have a slide or some kind of plug card that has all your, social contacts. People start following you. People start writing reviews.
That's important
This is
because a lot
today's
of people
world.
don't do that. Yeah, no, it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just keep it somewhere that is visible. You don't have to hold it in your hand, or
like the last sheet that you put up
absolutely,
on the screen.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That small thing is going to give you so much returns in terms of contacts and leads. It is amazing. All of these things work. So you not only get personal followers, but you're also leveraging on those contacts, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you reach a level where you don't know who all these people are, but then they continue to do this. And then once you have a finite list of customers, and you are in a stage where you are able to talk very fluently, you are able to master the room reading well, you are doing a successful speech, ask one of your friends to record it, you know, cut it into multiple pieces, upload it as multiple videos. So what happens is somebody is going to look for Roy in YouTube, and Roy has, let's say, 3 minutes worth of 10 videos. Roy did not do a 3-minute podcast. Roy did a 30-minute podcast. But what Roy did is he split 10 messages into each having 3 minutes and posted it. Now, the social media world is a very crazy one. It does not work like the real world. So, people who are interested in public speaking is going to watch Roy's video, the 3-minute video that Roy has, perhaps uh, cut, edited, and put in YouTube. He is only going to watch it. He should not, he or she should not be, for that matter of fact, pressed to watch the entire 30 minutes. He's not interested. They don't have the time. So the world has changed beyond how much we can explain. So the new world is entirely different. It is very content oriented. It is very, if I may, it is very much focused on topic related contents. So if you go to Google, you are searching a topic, right?
Yeah.
If you go to YouTube, you're asking for a specific genre of videos or music. You don't want to hear the entire world singing in different genres. You are specifically asking for a certain genre, probably an artist, and that artist specifically a song, right? So this is the world now. So the public speaker today, unlike the past, also need to have social skills. Uh, by social skills, I don't mean the physical social skills, but the virtual, digital social skills. Somebody who can manage those kind of things. So uh, it is very easy. Getting 100 followers, 1,000 followers is very, very easy, as long as your content is very powerful, because people listen to it, they act on it. Some of them life changing, you see. So it becomes a full blown career if you are good at what you do.
Absolutely. And I think you've hit the nail on the head with breaking it up, because, like with plenty of interviews, there's sometimes 20 fantastic points. And that alone, because somebody connects to that, and you can have a link in each video, then saying to
Absolutely.
listen to the full video. And,
Yeah.
but it's easy to do, and it's also easy not to do. And you just have to be consistent with anything that you do.
Yeah. So the thing is, like you said, it is easy to do and easy not to do. The point is, have you tamed your mind?
Yeah.
You see, it all comes to you. You cannot blame anyone else in this world for what you are not doing right. It is you.
Exactly.
If you miss the
come full circle back to the taming
Absolutely.
of the mind, and I
Absolutely.
totally agree.
Absolutely.
It's actually the most important thing. And like,
Absolutely.
even with me with the podcast, and there's loads of people going, "How are you getting so many episodes out and everything?" Because their head is all over the place, and they're taught of thinking about and worrying about the different things that they have to do. They end up getting none done instead of just being in control. You be the
Absolutely.
master instead of the other way around.
Absolutely. Keep mind you're very good servant. Never let it be the master, because you have no idea how much of a damage as a master it can do.
Exactly. Listen, brothers, I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, because
Likewise.
most of the time I have fantastic tips and tricks on the speaking, but never done in the way that you've said it today. And I know that if I went back before I got on this journey to listen to this conversation, it would actually have taken me leaps above where I was. So I hope people
That's
actually,
so kind of you.
I hope people will actually, listen to every point, because everything that you've said, I've learned myself, but it took me a while to do it. And I know
Indeed.
from yourself what you've said, it was the
Yes.
same thing. This didn't come overnight. It wasn't a case of, it
No,
was
no,
a journey, and constantly, evolving till you go. And
Absolutely.
I love the way that you've actually broken. And I know that you've done a lot of work on this as well, because you covered this in the stages and, discussed everything. So it's a perfect way to learn a lot in just one podcast. But I have to do my homework. I'll have to extract some of the golden nuggets for this. So what's the best way that people can get in contact with you?
So I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on Instagram. I think
Because they're distractions, that's why you get so much stuff.
Absolutely. Where you can find me is on LinkedIn. I can have my emails published to you. So if they want to reach out, I'm more than glad to help anyone within my limited knowledge. I'm happy to discuss. I'm not a paid speaker, and I don't intend to be one either. If I can help someone, more than glad. Uh, I can be reached on Gmail as well. So I will. You already have my email. So
Yeah.
I'm always. So all they need to do is they need to mention that they have the contacts through Roy. So I would be able to correlate this. But before I leave, I think it would be a big injustice. I will not get into the geopolitics of it, but I want to leave this message very loud and clear, at least from me. There are a lot of nations who have supported the cause of Ukraine. I am not the right one to probably judge who is on the right track or wrong. But I should say, exceptionally, what the Polish people have done to bring all those refugees home without even knowing them, a very big salute from me and probably millions of like minded people. This is something this world needs more than anything. People to people. I mean, how is it even possible? It took me days to digest the fact that actually Polish people are able to do that without knowing who is coming walking into your home.
They've shown the world how it should be done, because
It
I
should
have
be.
seen the refugees chucked into camps. There's some, because I have friends that have worked on refugee. There's some people have grown up in refugee camps. They're there for over 10 years. In Ireland, they come across as if they're helping a lot of people. They're putting them, it's a money-making business. They put them into hotels. It's like emergency accommodation. They're not allowed to cook for themselves. They're put into a room. Can you imagine having a family like that? The way Poland has done it has shown the world how it should be done. I've actually interviewed somebody today. The woman herself, she had an accident and she's actually recovering from a car accident. She's taken in 5 people, actually 3 young children and a mother, and just gave up half her house to help them. And
I was I
never
was
knew
telling I was telling a friend of mine, suddenly Oxford dictionary lost one word off the chart in the last 14 days because empathy does not exist anymore. It is Poland. It is thoroughly impossible to do it the way Poland has done. Amazing, amazing. And
No,
it's
like I was talking
unbelievable.
to another friend of mine, because basically the people that we were helping, they've got a relative in Italy, so they're going to be moving there. Rang a friend, he's going to take them, and he's taking in something like 12 people, him himself, and it's just so beautiful. I have another friend, she's Ukrainian, organizing everything, and it's just everybody is just coming together. I need help. How can we do this? Get food. Everyone that I know here, I'm watching them. They're traveling across. They're putting stuff together. It is beautiful to see. It's
It
the
is. It
rest of
is.
the world. Like, we're listening to the press on everything that happened with Iraq. Nobody heard about all the terrible things that happened there. And, this has been going on even in, I think it's Yemen. There's a lot still going on everywhere else. The rest of the world needs to wake up and see what Poland has done, because it's beautiful to see. It is
Yes.
beautiful.
Yes. And I've also read Polish people saying in the media, we know what it feels like. So we are more than happy to help.
Yeah. Yeah.
Such a powerful message.
Absolutely.
Hardly 2 lines, but it leaves you in awe.
Yeah,
Unbelievable. Kudos to everyone who does this,
exactly.
because the world needs more Poland.
No, totally agree. Totally agree with you.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Roy, I have taken enough time, but absolute pleasure to be associated with you. Thank you for having me on the show, and so kind of you.
Thoroughly enjoyed our conversation.
Thank
And I'll
you.
make sure I'll put in your LinkedIn profile. And with the email, I'll actually put a bracket. I won't say the full email, because sometimes you can get spam from that. So I'll just, so people can reach it, but they'll know by looking at it what it means. So thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Roy.
So that's all for the
Good night.
Speaking Podcast. You can find all our episodes on speakingpodcast.com. As mentioned, we're on BitChute and YouTube. Be sure to give us a thumbs up, 5-star rating, share with your friends. Until next week, take care.